Sarah?
Yes. Hello.
Hi. Thanks for coming.
Nice to meet you.
Okay, let's go ahead and get started with this administrative hearing. This is an administrative hearing being held on July 30th, 2026 at 1202 East 38th Street, Discovery Hall, Suite 100, Indianapolis, Indiana, 46205, and electronically through Microsoft Teams at 11:35 a.m. local time. This hearing is being conducted pursuant to the laws of the state of Indiana found in Indiana Code 4-21.5 before 6 members of the Indiana Board of Veterinary Medicine in a cause docketed as administrative cause number 2025 VB0015. Notice of time and place of this hearing was emailed to council for the respondent as provided by law on May 12, 2026. The purpose of this hearing is to consider the motion for order to cease and desist as filed by the petitioner on September 18, 2025. My name is Jerry Rodenbarger, and I am serving as hearing officer for this board. The following members of the board are sitting with me on this hearing: Stephen Sunbury, DVM, Tracy Gillespie, DVM, Kelly Peelman, DVM, Mindy Anderson, RBT, and Natalie Goodman, consumer member. At this time, I'll request that any board member who feels that he or she cannot give this individual a fair hearing and render an impartial decision to remove himself or herself from this hearing. May we have the appearance of counsel, please?
Ryan Eldridge, Deputy Attorney General for the state of Indiana.
And Katie Kramer, Deputy Attorney General for the state of Indiana.
Yes, on behalf of Sarah Trimble, Trent Gill from Reminger, this is Dr. Trimble, and Bailey Georgia from my office at Reminger as well, on behalf of Dr. Trimble.
Welcome. All of those who consider themselves or know themselves to be a witness, who are to be witnesses in this cause, please stand and raise your right hand. Dr. Royer? Yes. Okay. Do you, each of you, solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this cause will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you. Please be seated. The parties in this matter are hereby notified that the board will take official judicial notice of its file and record in this matter. All individuals attending this meeting are hereby placed on notice that this meeting is being recorded pursuant to Indiana law and will be a matter of public record. Does either party wish to make an opening statement?
Yes, please. Good morning, board. The matter the state has brought before you today concerns the unauthorized practice of veterinary medicine. The evidence will show today that the respondent is not licensed to practice veterinary medicine in the state of Indiana. And while she is licensed as a chiropractor, she does not satisfy conditions for exemption to licensure. Indiana law defines the practice of veterinary medicine to include diagnosing or treating any animal's condition or performing complementary or alternative therapies. Animal chiropractic falls squarely within this definition and may not be performed by an individual unless they hold an active veterinary license. While the Indiana Veterinary Practice Act does provide for exemption to licensure for members in good standing of other Indiana regulated professions, that exemption is narrow and conditional. It does not authorize a chiropractor to independently practice animal chiropractic, but instead applies only when the individual is, 1, providing assistance as requested by an Indiana licensed vet, 2, is acting within the consent of a client, 3, within the veterinary client-patient relationship, and 4, under the direct or indirect supervision of that vet. These requirements exist to protect animal patients and to ensure that those providing veterinary medicine or veterinary care meet standards established by the state. The state will present evidence today that respondent provided chiropractic adjustments and related services to animal patients, conduct that falls within the definition of the practice of veterinary medicine. Additionally, while respondent is a licensed chiropractor, the evidence will further show that those statutory conditions I just outlined were not met. It should be noted that earlier this month, at its regularly scheduled monthly meeting, the Indiana Board of Chiropractic Examiners voted that respondent's provision of animal chiropractic falls outside the scope of chiropractic practice, and a final order in that matter is pending. At the conclusion of evidence, the state will request that this board find that respondent is engaged in unlicensed practice of veterinary medicine, as she does not hold a veterinarian license and she does not meet the statutory requirements for exemption, and issue an order to cease and desist. Thank you.
Thank you. For the respondent.
Yes, thank you. May it please the members of the board, council. It's my pleasure to represent Dr. Trimble here. She's been charged, right? If we look at the administrative complaint, let's just look at what we're talking about here today. The practice of veterinarian medicine. And I'm looking directly at the administrative complaint. In there, it states, and the board is well aware of this, under the code, various things that it describes as the practice of veterinarian medicine, right? Specifically, it talks about prescribing, dispensing, ordering, administration of a drug, medicine, medical appliance, treatment, cure, relief of disease, okay? We can agree with that, right? Dr. Trimble does not do any of those things. I don't think that's in dispute. What the state is focusing on is performing a complementary, or we just heard it, alternative therapy upon an animal, okay? In there, in the administrative complaint, it cites to the American Veterinarian Medical Association Model Veterinarian Practice Act, right? Members of the board, I'm sure you're probably familiar with it. Maybe you'd have to go back when you learned it at, veterinarian school, but you're well aware of what the act is and what it says, right? In the actual administrative complaint, the state cites to the 2019 definitions, right? We don't have to prove anything here. The state has brought a cease and desist for clear violations of these statutes, and they're using a definition that is outdated. 2019 definition that's not even codified in the law. That does include specificities related to therapies based on techniques practiced in osteopathy and chiropractic medicine, the 2019 definition. In 2025, the American Veterinarian Medical Association Model Act removed that sentence from its definition. It no longer includes specificity that would give any reasonable person notice that they could be practicing, like Dr. Trimble, practicing veterinarian care if they're doing animal chiropractic. So, that's the outline of what we're talking here today. Dr. Trimble, you will hear, and the state has the burden of proof. You should remember that filter all the time here. Dr. Trimble is a chiropractor, fully trained and credentialed to practice animal chiropractic by the International Veterinarian Chiropractic Association, having gone through training countless hours. You'll hear from her regarding that. So if I take a step back, there really are 4 reasons why, and I'm going to ask for relief right at the end here on what I'm asking for on behalf of my client. One is she's fully trained to do what she's doing with the animals in animal chiropractic, which is not under the definition of veterinarian medicine. That's the second reason. She's not practicing as a vet. She's not advertised that she's practicing as a vet. She doesn't do veterinarian medicine. Indeed, you'll hear from Dr. Royer. She works in conjunction with vets all the time in the scope of a veterinarian patient or, client relationship as described by the state. So 2 reasons, right? She's fully trained. 2, the state is relying on outdated, uncodified law that is not clear. 3, there's an exception, right? The state described an exception, even if she is falling under veterinarian medicine. There is a statute in there that provides, and you'll hear more about this, if that person is a member in good standing of another licensed agency, chiropractic, and then is working with a veterinarian, right? So in there, and we'll talk about this here today, under the direct or indirect supervision of the licensed veterinarian. Dr. Royer is an example of one of the vets. We couldn't bring them all here today, and the vets that she has relationships with, right? Of that exception. So if this board finds that she is practicing as a vet, there's the exception if she's working in conjunction with a licensed veterinarian. Here, Dr. Royer is an example. So that's the 3rd reason. The 4th reason, I think if we look at the big picture here, ladies and gentlemen, what we're trying to do is protect, and I think I overheard some of the other hearings, right? What we're trying to do is protect the public, right? That's why we have this set up. We're trying to protect animals and the owners of those animals with good reason. That's what I'm hearing, and that's the purpose of the Indiana Licensing Board for doctors, chiropractors, everything. We're trying to protect the public. We want to make sure that the good people in the state of Indiana are taken care of. And that's good. That makes sense. What we have here is form over function and unclear laws. With Dr. Trimble, you'll also hear, and you will not hear a shred of evidence that she has ever harmed a single animal. Indeed, the results that she gets in working with these animals in conjunction with other vets is exceptional. There's not a single case of any harm whatsoever done to any of the chiropractic adjustments that she does, which she'll describe, and any other therapies. She doesn't prescribe medicine. She doesn't do surgery. So what am I asking for, ultimately? And I guess I'll take a step back. The 4th reason, like I said, no harm. So if we go, she's fully trained, she's not practicing as a vet, even if she is. The 3rd reason would be she's operating with assistance or indirect supervision, or sometimes direct supervision with a licensed veterinarian. Those are the 4 reasons. What am I asking for? What do I want this board to do on behalf of my client? We would like this board to issue an order basically stating that she is not practicing veterinarian medicine, and that this board should then therefore set this aside so that the Indiana legislature can take this up appropriately with the chiropractic board, which is the state described. We were in front of the chiropractic board to work on this. She is caught up in form over function. And you'll probably hear from Dr. Royer with all the other animal licensed and fully trained animal chiropractors that are out there. This needs our due attention with the legislature, if anything. So I would just ask that this board just issue a statement basically saying that this is not, chiropractic board, you need to take this up. This is not veterinarian care. This is not veterinarian medicine. Directing that board to hopefully work on clarity so that we're not caught up with the good Dr. Trimbles of the state of Indiana that are doing really good work with the animals throughout all of the patients and clients that she has. So that's my prayer for relief. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, present your case.
Yes, thank you. At this time, the state calls Delaney Walter. One moment while we get a witness stand set up.
Right here. Good here.
Hello, can you please state and spell your name for the record, please?
Delaney Walter, Delaney, Walter, Walter.
And you are currently employed at the Office of the Indiana Attorney General, is that correct?
That is correct.
And what is your job title?
I'm an investigator,
And how long have you been an investigator with our office?
approximately 4 years.
And what are some of the job duties that you complete as an investigator with the Office of the Indiana Attorney General?
I investigate consumer complaints against licensed and unlicensed individuals.
And are you familiar with Sarah Trumbull, Indiana licensed chiropractor?
I am.
How are you aware with Dr. Trumbull?
In April 2023, our office received a consumer complaint against Dr. Trumbull, and I was the assigned investigator.
And from your investigation of that, were the original allegations of that complaint involving unlicensed practice of veterinary medicine?
In the original complaint?
Yes.
No.
What did you find in the course of your investigation regarding veterinary medicine?
Through the course of my investigation, I reviewed documents as well as searches through Google, anything that anybody could access, and found that Dr. Trumbull was advertising and performing animal chiropractic services.
You reviewed her websites as that is typical for either unlicensed practice or employing unlicensed practice cases. And that was the original allegation, correct?
That's correct.
I'm going to ask for you to look at State's Exhibits 1 through 3.
Can you make your
I'm going to pull up each of the exhibits for you, and if you can look at them and make sure you're familiar with them. You reviewed these exhibits prior to today, correct?
That is correct.
Can you guys speak up a little bit, please?
Yes, apologies.
I'm sorry.
Not a problem. I'm showing you what's marked as State Exhibit 1. You reviewed this prior today, correct?
That is correct.
And you reviewed the entirety of the 4 pages that are contained within this exhibit.
That is correct.
And what is this exhibit for the board's information?
These are screenshots for Hands-On Healing business page offering animal chiropractic services.
And these are screenshots from their page or other pages that refer to Hands-On Healing, correct?
Yes, as well as Indiana Equine Roundup, who posted about Hands-On Healing being present as a vendor for animal chiropractic.
And are these true and accurate copies of Facebook posts that you obtained in the course of your investigation?
Yes.
The state moves to omit State Exhibit 1.
Just one? Just exhibit one?
At 1 at this time.
Okay.
It's uploading.
Okay.
And just for the record, I believe we need to confirm if there's any objection of the council. Okay.
Is there any objection to
No.
any of the states?
Yeah.
Can I go ahead and upload
Sure.
all of them
Yes.
to the board? Okay.
And we'll authenticate them in due course. Just for confirmation, does the board now have those exhibits available?
They have 1 through 3 so far.
I'll now move forward with brief questions on exhibits 2 and 3. Are exhibits 2 and 3 two additional image photos of the Facebook page for hands-on healing?
Yes,
I know these are true and accurate photos of what you obtained involving animal chiropractic from her website.
yes,
The state moves to omit state exhibits 2 and 3 also for the record.
Accepted.
In addition to reviewing her Facebook posts, did you also obtain documentation from her practice?
yes,
And is that what is marked as state exhibits 4 and 5?
yes,
And exhibits 4 and 5 are business records that you obtain involving animal chiropractic invoices from her practice. Is that correct?
that is correct.
And are these true and accurate copies of what you obtained from your review prior to today's hearing?
Yes,
And they also contain a business records affidavit. Is that correct?
that is correct.
The state would move to omit state exhibits 4 and 5 as these do contain the names of animal chiropractic patients. We would just ask that they be marked for not for public access, which has been designated. And from your review of these records, approximately how many animal chiropractic services did she offer?
Roughly 62 from the year 2021 to 2023.
And can you name what variety of animals did these cover?
Horses, pigs, cows, and dogs.
And from your review of these records from Dr. Trimble's practice, was there any records of any relationship with a veterinarian?
No, there,
Was there any documentation of referrals from any veterinarians?
no,
Was there any, strike that. Beyond the invoices, was there any patient records
there were not.
for these patients?
No.
So beyond what they were charged, there's no indication of anything else involving their services?
No.
And was that requested in your subpoena that you sent in the course of your investigation?
That is correct. We requested medical records pertaining to animal care practice.
And you previously heard and testified before the Indiana Board of Chiropractic Examiners, is that correct?
That is correct.
And the reason you appeared before that board is she holds a Indiana chiropractic license, correct?
Yes.
And does she hold any other licenses for the state of Indiana?
Massage therapist.
She is not a licensed veterinarian.
She's not.
Or veterinarian.
No.
Did you also obtain records that are marked as State Exhibit 6
Yes.
in the course of your investigation? And are these the? I'm gonna pull these up for you. One moment. Have you reviewed these records prior to today?
I have.
And what are these records for?
These are records produced in response to a subpoena from CBRC Expo Center.
And that's located in Cloverdale, Indiana.
That is correct.
And what is CBRC Expo Center?
It is where they hold usually equine events.
And what did these records indicate regarding any involvement of Dr. Trimble with this business?
Dr. Trimble had filled out application to become a vendor, in which the application stated that she would be there as a vendor to offer animal and human chiropractic services.
And this was records for 2 occasions that she was president at CBRC Expo?
That's correct.
And you were you present for the entirety of the hearing before the Indiana Board of Chiropractic Examiners?
Yes.
And at that hearing, from your observation, were any animal chiropractic records presented beyond what you had received in the course of your investigation?
No.
And did you also listen to the testimony of Dr. Trimble at that hearing?
I did.
And what did she say in regards to maintenance of animal chiropractic records?
She mentioned that if they were in her office, she would make chart notes of the animal chiropractic work. But if it was on site, such as Cal Coats, C-Bar, C-Expo, where she's a vendor, there were no records to keep that she kept.
And none of those records were provided to you in the course of your investigation or request?
That is correct.
In addition, what did she say regarding the records and maintenance to avoid potential liability?
It was, she did not keep it to protect herself.
And that was a direct question of one of the Indiana Board of Chiropractic Examiners members, correct?
That is correct.
And again, from your records that you obtained, was there any form or indication of patient consent for the services offered?
There was only invoices and statements, billing statements.
The state has nothing further for this witness. We make this witness available to opposing counsel.
Thank you. Ms. Cross, you mentioned a consumer complaint, which was the initial investigation.
Ms. Walter.
Sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. I just don't want you to keep saying it over and over. Make it awkward.
Sorry. Ms. Walter, you mentioned a consumer complaint. That was the initial process into investigating my client. Is that correct?
That's correct.
That consumer complaint has absolutely nothing to do with animal chiropractic, right?
Correct.
Right. In other words, there was a consumer complaint, and I'm looking at it right here, where there was some concern about massage therapists or something like that. Is that your understanding?
The labeling of
Yes.
mislabeling her chiropractic assistants as massage therapists. Yes.
Yeah. This consumer complaint, nothing came of it, right? It was closed out in her favor.
It was not closed out. It continued, in which that is where I reviewed the evidence, the Facebook post, the social media, everything that was readily available to anybody in the public, and that is where I found the animal chiropractic.
Right, but when I'm talking about this complaint as to massage therapists and the labeling that you mentioned, that has been closed out. There's no further investigation into that.
The state is going to object based on relevance. We don't believe this is relevant for the purposes of the hearing today. The hearing today is to determine whether she practiced unlicensed this profession.
I didn't bring this up. The consumer complaint was mentioned in the opening and during the direct testimony of the witness. My point is that this has nothing to do with animal chiropractic, this consumer complaint.
And again, the
Yeah.
state's response
Yes.
is that it's irrelevant for this purpose. The complaint is relevant because that is what gives the board jurisdiction, is that there was a complaint against an individual.
Well, let me just ask you this. Dr. Trimble is not being accused in front of the chiropractic board and in front of any board regarding this consumer complaint and massage therapist, true?
That is true. And
Okay.
allegations of that.
So we can set that aside. When you were investigating, let me just ask you this. Have you ever, during your process of investigating, did you ever interview Dr. Trimble?
I did not.
Did you ever look into her credentials, training as into animal chiropractic?
Yes.
You did?
Yes.
All right. Did you find that she was fully trained and credentialed?
Are you referring to the certificates that she
Yes.
received? I am aware that she received certificates in animal chiropractic out of state and out of the country. I believe Germany is one.
And it's not. But anyway, so you're aware that she has credentials and certificates in animal chiropractic training. Is that your testimony?
Yes, I'm aware.
Okay. During this process and investigating, did you ever talk to any of these vendors? Like you mentioned the C-Bar C. Did you ever interview any of those people?
I spoke to an individual that was present who she performed an adjustment on the canine.
Right, and was the result good in that case?
Can you?
Do you know if that patient was satisfied or?
Well,
The state is gonna object to that line of questioning. It is not relevant for those purposes. It doesn't matter if they got good results. It matters whether the person is allowed to perform the services, because then the argument would be made that anyone can perform your profession as long as they're getting good results.
And I think the overarching theme here is any harm to any animals, and that's all I'm asking about.
And the state
Your
would,
objection is sustained.
okay.
Did you interview, have you ever talked to Dr. Royer?
I have not.
Did you ever interview any other potential veterinarians that Dr. Trimble works with?
No.
Are you aware if any of the other veterinarians she's ever worked with have any documentation to discuss working with Dr. Trimble?
No, it was not in the subpoena that we requested.
So you don't have that information,
No, it was not provided to us.
and you didn't request it?
We requested records.
And the state is gonna object based on that relevance of that line of testimony. It is the doctor's responsibility to supply all responsive documentation. Ms. Walter is not a legal expert. She is an investigator, and she can only request what she is able to in her investigation. And if it was not provided to her, then it does not exist.
Sustained.
Well, let me just ask you this. You're not aware or haven't talked to a single veterinarian that Dr. Trimble has worked with.
Objection asked and answered.
Is that correct?
Sustained.
Are you aware, have you investigated or come across any other animal chiropractors at all besides Dr. Trimble? Have you looked into that?
Objection relevance.
Is it sustained?
Oh, geez. Okay. I don't have any other questions. Thank you.
Does the board have questions for this witness? Okay,
So backtracking a little bit about the conversation where you did not keep records on any patients that you performed.
Well,
You're
of
asking
the witness.
Or, oh, I'm sorry. If you want the witness to clarify what she said, you can. Okay, so when you asked Dr. Trimble, you asked about the records, and she had the records of those that she saw in a building, but not those that she saw out on the sites of the arenas and the horse shows and the 4-H and things like that.
That's correct.
There were no records to be had from those situations.
That is correct. And in our response, we received no medical records whatsoever from her office or anything off-site.
And what did she say when you asked her where they were?
I did not ask her. One of the members of the board did, and she said it was to protect her. She didn't keep them to protect herself.
She didn't keep the records to protect herself from a possible liability in the future?
That I do not know. I just know what was said.
That was during the chiropractic board
That's
hearing
correct.
a couple weeks ago.
Yes.
And then, just to, again, clarify, the medical records, even the ones that were done in house and clinic, there were no medical records, only charges. Is that?
Yes, that is correct. It was just invoices and statements on chiropractic animal work.
And could you reiterate the results of the chiropractic hearing? Or,
That would be them.
oh, well, but she was there, or on, I thought she was there.
I think it would be best if one of the Deputy Attorney Generals would speak on that.
Can you please restate the question?
Can I ask him at this point?
Just ask the question, you can.
Reiterating the results of the chiropractic hearing. I didn't catch that.
At this point, I can ask the board to take judicial notice as it is something of a matter of record, and it was uploaded on the IPLA YouTube
All right.
page and is public. there was a letter of reprimand issued against Dr. Trimble, and they found 2 counts. The relevant count, I believe, for this board is that chiropractic, the scope of chiropractic does not include animal chiropractic, based on the definition of chiropractic saying human in its title.
That's
Or in its
what I was wanting to hear. Thank you. Any other questions from the board? Okay, the board will take judicial notice of the hearing before the chiropractic meeting. Any other questions for this witness? Redirect?
I just have some brief redirect questions, just a couple. Ms. Walter, to not go into non-relevant matters involving the consumer complaint. Again, the consumer complaint did involve allegations of beyond the scope or unlicensed practice of some form.
That is correct.
And you were asked whether you interviewed Dr. Royer or any other veterinarian in the course of your investigation, correct?
That is correct.
And you were not provided any records as to any veterinarian that worked with Dr. Trimble, correct?
I was not.
And you can't interview anyone that you're not aware of their existence, correct?
That is correct.
There was a question asked by one of the board members of you regarding clarification of the records. You mentioned that there were never any animal chiropractic records provided to you other than billing invoices, correct?
That is correct.
But you mentioned the testimony that there were records, Dr. Trimble stated at the chiropractic hearing, records for on-site, or if she provided services on-site, correct?
Correct. She said that she made chart notes for on-site in her office, but off-site at a vendor center expo. She did not.
And again, you never received any of these records?
No.
Nothing further.
Recross?
Your testimony is that there are just no records that reflect this, but you don't have any other evidence, in other words, it's just the records. That's your testimony. Is that what you're saying? Don't exist?
Can you rephrase?
Yeah, you testified about records regarding animal chiropractic or consent. You're saying that you don't have those records, but you don't know if consent actually existed in some other form, like direct conversation. Is that
Well, it
correct?
usually requires written consent, but no, it was not included.
Are you stating that there's a law that requires written consent? Is that your testimony?
With medical records, there usually is written consent.
I thought that, I'm just gonna object to her testifying as to what the legal standard is. She's not aware.
And he asked her the legal standard.
Okay,
So, unfortunately, that's a question that's been posed to her.
what statute is it? Can you cite a statute?
Not off the top of my head, I'm sorry.
Right, so you don't know if that's the law.
I am not a lawyer, I can confirm that.
Right, so you don't know if it's the law. What I'm saying is, you don't,
Objection asked and answered.
I'll just move on.
Yeah. Okay, are we finished with this witness?
Yes.
All right.
One moment.
Thank you.
At this point in time, the state will move for summary judgment in this matter. For summary judgment, there are 2 factors that must be proven. One, that there's no genuine issue of material fact. In this case, there is not a genuine issue of material fact. She has agreed that she has performed animal chiropractic services, as has been testified at the Board of Chiropractic hearing that you took judicial notice of. And also has been shown in opening and through evidence today. We would also ask, and then the only other issue is whether there's a genuine issue. The only other issue is whether the party is entitled to judgment as a matter of law. And the board itself is the one that decides what the practice of veterinary medicine is. So we would ask that the board rule on that at this point, as there has been sufficient evidence to show through what the law is and also what the evidence is in this case.
So you're asking for summary judgment and or like a directed verdict?
We're asking for summary judgment. At this point, it could be considered a directed verdict, but ultimately the facts are uncontested, so we're asking for a ruling based on those.
Go ahead.
I'm still kind of confused as to what the state is asking for here, but we don't have the burden of proof on any of it. And Dr. Trimble hasn't testified. The state hasn't proven that she is violating clear language as to the practice of veterinary care. That's really what we're here for. And I mentioned in my opening, the definitions being used, outdated definitions, the deletion of that chiropractic portion, and then also the exceptions to that. Indirect and direct supervision with a licensed veterinarian. The fact that there are no records does not mean anything as the non-moving party. It's the state's burden of proof. Most of these referrals and discussions you'll hear, it doesn't have to be committed to writing to have consent from a patient at a show or something like that. I can tell you she's probably changing her documentation now because of all of this, but that's not the point. The state has to prove that. Just because we lack the documentation to prove it doesn't mean anything other than that documentation doesn't exist. So the state hasn't proven their case.
And we would respond to say that the chiropractic board also ruled on that same issue and decided that she did not meet the exemption. As if she met the exemption, she would not be going.
I'm just gonna object.
Please allow me to finish my
He's
sentence.
misrepresenting what we don't even have a
We're
letter.
going to deny the motion.
Yeah.
At this point.
Thank you.
One moment. The state has nothing further, and we passed our case, but we do reserve the right to call and ask direct questions of Dr. Trimble on her case.
Certainly. Respondent,
Yes.
your case.
Thank you. Members of the board, I'm going to call Dr. Trimble to testify. You've already been sworn. Can you please state your name and profession for the record?
Dr. Sarah Trimble, PC.
Dr. Trimble, you've been accused of the practice of veterinary medicine. Do you believe that you practice as a vet?
Absolutely not.
Can you, in short, tell this board why?
My understanding of veterinary medicine is the diagnosis, treating of animal, giving recommendations of internal or supplements or recommendations of therapy, basically just diagnosing and treating of an animal in that capacity. I look for spinal subluxations of the animal. I am highly trained in the anatomy of the animal and basics of pathologies of what to look for, but I never ever diagnose. I never give recommendations of even supplements or anything to take for the animal. I basically palpate the animal, check range of motion, check for spinal subluxations, do chiropractic treatment. I let the owner know what I found, and then I let them know, okay, now go tell your vet, this is what I found, and let me know if there's any further assistance. So I don't do any other diagnosing or care other than just chiropractic.
The state was arguing about consents and the lack of documentation that they have to show that you had achieved consent with your patients or clients. Do you obtain consent?
I do. I submitted documents of consents of patients I have in office. And so I'm not quite sure what happened to those documents, but I have written consents from the owners that they want to see in office. I'm outside office at the horse shows. Normally, these are very expensive horses who are under veterinary care, and so anytime they come to me, it's normally like, hey, my vet came to ask me to come find you, or my vet told me to look for a chiropractor, or they told me to come find you, they know that's where I'm at. And if not, they don't leave that sentence, then I ask them, like, okay, had this horse in veterinary care, was there any pathologies, what has your vet said that they think is going on with the horse? So that way I know that the horse is under veterinary care and that they have been assigned to get chiropractic care.
Have you ever treated an animal without consent and talking to the patient or the client about your scope of practice, what you can do and potentially offer, or deferring to a vet? Have you ever done that without getting their consent?
No.
How long have you been an animal chiropractor?
About 8 years now.
Can you explain to this board what it takes to become trained, really what the training is, how you went about doing it, and your ongoing education?
So you have to be a vet or a chiropractor to attend a post-grad college. You apply for the college and then you get approved. And so I was on site in Kansas City at Options for Animals Chiropractic College, where I did over 200 hours of hands-on and clinical learning with vets and chiropractors. Half the day was in lecture, half the day was hands-on. I did 6 weeks on site there, and then you have to take a written exam with the school themselves to be able to get your degree from the college. And then they have the International Veterinary Chiropractic Association come
The
on
state is going to
site.
object to this question as it's not whether she's been trained, it's whether she's licensed to perform the activity.
That objection sustained.
So so I'm clear, are we saying that her training as an animal chiropractor is irrelevant? I mean, it's sustained.
I won't answer that.
Huh?
I won't answer his question.
Well, the question was asked and there was no objection and she was just giving an answer. I would just like her to be able to finish her answer.
And the state would object to that as the board has already ruled that the testimony is irrelevant for the purposes of the hearing today.
I'm just on continuous questioning.
Move on.
Okay. What kind of, well, let me just ask you this. I mentioned the law we talked about. Are you aware of the administrative complaint that's been filed against you and the charges against you that you're practicing as a veterinarian? You aware of that?
The state would object to the characterization of this as an administrative complaint. It's a motion for order to cease and desist. Administrative complaint would imply that she has a license before this board.
Sustained.
Have you read the administrative complaint?
Again, the state objects as there is no administrative complaint before this board.
Have you read the motion for cease and desist?
Yes.
Okay. In there, are you aware of the charges that the state brought against you with respect to that motion for cease and desist?
Yes.
All right. We talked about your understanding of veterinary medicine. I want to ask about your work with indirect or direct supervision with veterinarians, okay?
Okay.
Do you work with veterinarians like Dr. Royer?
Not on site.
Okay. How does it work typically? Do you have an example? You can use Dr. Royer as an example or other vets as an example.
Other vets, I've met them at the horse shows. Sometimes they're there on site. And so we'll collaborate on either animals that are there that come to see them, or that come to see me. We are normally side by side when we're working. And so if someone comes to me saying, so-and-so here recommended you, I'm like, okay, what were their findings? And if they're standing close by and not busy, I'll go ahead and ask them, what their findings were and what they recommend, what they found. And so there's sometimes vets there that I work side by side with when treating an animal. Normally when I'm at the show, someone comes up to me and says, hey, my vet says that my animal needs chiropractic care. This is what's going on. And then I do my job accordingly. Or I'll just ask them like, has this horse been seen under a vet? What were the recommendations? And they're like, yes, it is seeking chiropractic care. So I always make sure that, their vet knows that they are getting chiropractic care and they were referred to get chiropractic care.
Are there occasions where you're working with patients after obtaining consent, or clients, I should say, working with those clients and their animals, where you then stop or say, I can't provide this service because it's beyond my scope?
There's been times when people have asked me certain things. It's more of like a pathology issue or more organ related, or if something is dislocated, I'm like, that's out of my scope of practice. Like I can't, answer or give recommendations for that. Or if something is dislocated, I'm like, you absolutely need to go see your vet for this. That's not in my field.
Do you always make sure that when you are working with these clients that they also have a vet that they're working with?
Yes.
What kind of animals do you work with?
Primarily equine, canine, cattle, sheep, goats.
Where do you usually meet with your clients? Have you ever had an occasion to work in direct supervision or direct observation with like Dr. Royer?
The first time that me and Dr. started working together, I performed adjustments right there in front of him, kind of educating him on exactly what I did, what chiropractic treatment looks like. I worked on several right there with him. And then once we established a good relationship and he was confident in my abilities, then I can come on site to work on the animals that they recommend, but they're not standing over me. They're doing their jobs while I do mine.
The clients that you work with, have they written you any letters of support to provide further guidance and clarification regarding your role in consent and the outcomes they've achieved?
I do, yes.
You have those with you? I have letters from several patients that I would like to admit into
The
evidence.
state is going to object. These letters have not been provided to us prior to this hearing.
We just
There
obtained.
was a deadline for exhibits.
Did you say that from patients?
From clients and patients, yes.
The state would refer to the hearing notice that it referred to animal patient records, and these apply to services received by the animal patients, so they would be applicable to their records.
Denied. We'd like to see the letters.
Okay, thank you.
But these were not previously provided to the board, right?
So I have copies for everyone, yes.
That's all I want to know.
Correct.
Okay.
And the one additional thing we would say out of fairness, these were not provided to us prior to today, so, but we would like that noted as a ground, and ruled on that ground, so. As they did provide their exhibits, and even board directors said they had till Friday last week, they did not submit these.
That's acknowledged.
We would just ask the due weight be given to them then, since they are just being provided now.
They don't speak to the issue at hand. We just we'll look at them.
Okay, I've marked these letters as Exhibit J, and I'll just distribute. Yeah, 2 pages. If you want to just take 2 and then you can pass them along, I would appreciate it. Thank you.
Wait, are these two different pages?
Just if you take, yeah, just 2 up the top and then pass them on. Thank you.
Is it J?
Yes.
Also, since this is the first time we're seeing this, just for the record, to note our objection, I know the board has already ruled on it, but character evidence is not permitted for purposes of determining whether impermissible conduct occurred. So we would just ask the board to give it due weight in not determining whether she practiced unlicensed practice of chiropractic or of veterinary medicine. But we did want to note that for the record. Thank you.
And my response, just briefly, is that not only does this provide the evidence of good result, but also that ongoing consent relationships are going on here with these patients. Clearly, they're consenting. All right, Dr. Trimble, looking at Exhibit J, can you, what are we looking at here from the letters, and tell us what these patients have told you and why they wrote to you?
State is going to object to this line of testimony as the exhibit speaks for itself. And anything she would be saying would be hearsay.
Can we just take like a 2-minute pause so the board can actually read these before
Sure.
we start? Anything with it? Yeah, he's reviewed it.
I think we've reviewed these.
Okay. My question to Dr. Trimble was, does this document refresh your recollection and provide you examples of the relationships that you have with clients, working with those clients, obtaining consent, and working with indirectly with veterinarians?
Yes.
Are there examples of that in here?
Yes, it's just, I have really good relationships with the owners of these animals. They trust me. They know that I'm very proud that the best compliments I get from them is I'm very thorough with their animal. I connect with their animal. I listen to what they have to say, what the owner tells me. I'm very thorough with the animal, just palpating and checking everything over, taking my time to examine. And then I teach them along the way. I love to teach. So as I'm finding things with the animal, I'll let them know, like, if this area feels more tight or restricted, like these are some exercises that you can do at home, to keep, this from happening again. And any subluxation that I find with any of the animal they work on, I always show them exactly, what I find, and just ways that they can help us prevent that from reoccurring again. But yeah, I'm just very thorough with the animals and I just love to educate what I find with them. And then anything that I do find that is outside of my scope that may feel like more like pathology wise, I always recommend, I'm like, hey, tell all this back to your vet and see what they say that they may need further.
In here, are there examples of you obtaining consent
Yes.
that you're working with that client to make sure they also have a vet?
Oh, yes.
That if needed, you are reporting to that vet?
Yes.
Is there a safe way to practice animal chiropractic?
Yes.
What is that? Tell this.
Knowing your skill set,
The
knowing the
state would
anatomy very
object to that
well.
question as that's not the relevant purpose of today. It's to determine whether you should practice the unlicensed profession, not her definition of what is safe practice.
Objection sustained.
In this letter exhibit J, are there any examples of you prescribing medication,
No,
diagnosing,
no,
doing surgery?
no.
Besides Dr. Royer, how many other, just approximately, vets have you worked with in the direct or indirect supervision definition that we're talking about?
I'd say roughly 20 or more.
20 or more? Have you had occasion to consult with them either in person or on the phone or via email regarding what's going on and the overall ongoing care of an animal?
I've had a few on the phone where the owner has called their vet while I'm there with me because they were unclear about what the vet had told them. And so they called and I had a brief conversation with them a couple times. And sometimes it was just the vet that was on site there that had seen the horse, they were, if it was injured. Otherwise, it was just a relay from the owner, or it was a text message, or it was paper documents that they had from their vet showing this is what they have going on, and I would just review it with them.
Prior to being charged with the motion, or I guess receiving the motion to cease and desist, and we know that the chiropractic board was involved, did you have clear documentation regarding your relationships that you had already established with veterinarians and consent and things like that? Did you have a form like that before?
I had one, a very basic one, but not anything super formal.
Today, do you have more clear forms?
Yes.
And, okay, can you describe to the board what kind of forms you utilize now with people like Dr. Royer?
Basically just saying that the
The state
animal
would
is under
object to this
veterinary
as
care.
it's testifying to something that has been admitted into evidence. It's a form of documentation and she has not submitted that documentation to prove its existence before the board today.
It exists, but she can talk about what her documentation standards are today, clearly, in general.
Denied.
Go ahead.
I apologize. I did submit those with emails. I'm not sure where they ended up. It's basically saying that the animal is seen under veterinary care, what the diagnosis or protocol was the animal, did the vet recommend chiropractic care, and the demographics and such.
Can the board please instruct opposing counsel to stop talking to me across the table in an inappropriate
Sorry.
manner?
Go ahead.
That was it. Just pretty much like who the vet was and then just signature and date.
Thank you. I don't have any other further.
Dr. Trimble, you mentioned that you engage in both direct and indirect supervision with veterinarians. Is that correct?
Correct.
Is it predominantly indirect or direct in nature?
Direct.
Okay. Are you aware that indirect supervision is defined by Indiana law?
Yeah.
Are you aware that it requires written protocols, or oral instructions for the treatment of the animal from the vet?
Oral instruction, yes.
And have you ever memorialized any of those relationships with those vets? Have you ever written down those types of relationships into documentation with those vets?
In their, for those that I see in office, yes, if they've contacted me, it's in their consent.
And again, you did not provide any of that documentation to the Office of the Attorney General in the course of the
I
investigation.
emailed it, I don't know what happened to it.
But you have not presented any of that evidence today in documentation form before this board, correct? Okay, it's a yes or no. You have not presented that before today in documentation form before the
They're
board.
not physically present.
And you also appeared before the Indiana Board of Chiropractic Examiners, is that correct?
Correct.
And when you appeared before the Indiana Board of Chiropractic Examiners, they made the judgment that this falls outside the definition of chiropractic, is that correct? Yes or no question?
I mean, they are aware that this is chiropractic. That legislation was changed afterwards.
The ruling, they determined that you were practicing outside of your scope, is that correct?
I don't have the ruling.
There was a vote of the board that you were practicing outside the scope of your license, is that correct?
Yes, and
Thank you, Rick. You also provided no documentation to the chiropractic board of these referrals, any form of supervision beyond an affidavit of Dr. Royer, is that correct?
again, I did not realize up until the time that we were there that they were not already submitted.
Okay. You spoke in the chiropractic meeting about your relationship with Dr. Royer, is that correct?
Correct.
And at that meeting, you testified that your relationship with Dr. Royer began in the summer of 2025, is that correct?
Correct.
No further questions at this time.
Okay. Questions from the board for this witness?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, so when you talk about relationships with veterinarians, and in the veterinary medicine world, as I assume, with human medicine as well, we're taught all the way into vet school that if it is not written down in documentation, it didn't happen. You cannot prove anything, you have no leg to stand on if anything happened. Many cases that have come before us in the veterinary field, the veterinarians have ran into some trouble defending themselves because the documentation wasn't there years ago when this thing happened. So veterinarians know I have to document things. Anything that happens with my patient that I'm privy to and that I am, basically referring to you is what it seems like your relationship is, that you either, see these people, meet them for the first time at these shows and whatnot, or the veterinarian refers to you. There should be some sort of, these are the lesions, these are the areas of concern, these are the clinical signs, this is the treatment I've done so far. So do you get that documentation from veterinarians? You're calling this chiropractic treatment, which I feel like I would agree with you. So do you have documentation from veterinarians before you perform treatments?
I don't have documents from vets, no.
So how is the referral relationship something that you can lean on if you're performing treatments on animals, but there is no diagnosis? I mean, before you treat, you have to have a diagnosis, and both of those things are under the scope of the veterinary practice. I'm just trying to decide, how do you even know what to do when there is no veterinary records for you?
Because in a sense, it's slightly out of, I'm not saying it's out of their scope, but it's out of their knowledge base of like chiropractic. And so when they see something that is like, this isn't something that needs injected or needs pathology or needs a treatment, this is more like musculoskeletal or like in the chiropractic realm, that's when they send it, they push them off to me. I'm highly trained in chiropractic to palpate, check for range of motion and joint stability. And so that's when I palpate and examine the horse or the animal itself to find where the subluxations are, because the vets normally don't know that information nor to give it to me. And so I do my exam and then find the subluxations.
So would you agree that they have performed enough of an exam and diagnostic work to decide that your set of skills is the next step?
Yes.
So that's what I'm saying. There's no security in the word of mouth with a client when you do not have direct documentation or proof from the veterinarian.
Correct, and I think it's just a knowledge base, you know, like as before all of this, neither me nor I assume the vets realized that we had to have this paper trail. You know, it was just
So you're saying treatment, you say, I'm a chiropractor, and you've got the word treatment in here, and you have said that in your voice as well. So I just hope you understand that to get to you, there's veterinary work done. There is diagnostics and medications. You're probably not the first, line of defense. So there's veterinary work being done. And then, in essence, you're doing veterinary work and there is no veterinary records. And then from you, even if you did not get the appropriate documentation from the vet, then there's no records from you to say, this is what I saw, this is what I did. And then to circle back around and you're not keeping them intentionally to protect yourself and lies.
I didn't say it in those ways. I didn't understand that I didn't realize there was a need to. You know, I've never.
So maybe that reemphasizes the point that this is veterinary medicine and you are not a veterinarian.
I've never claimed to do veterinary medicine in any regard.
I find it interesting though that you're claiming, well, I didn't know.
I didn't know I needed a paper trail to do chiropractic.
Oh, most treatments on animals and humans need records. And I'll let someone else ask questions.
Do you keep records on your human patients in your office?
Yes.
And you said that when you see veterinary patients, not say at a horse show, but from a referral from one of your veterinarians, are you seeing them at your office or are you seeing them at their office?
So I was confused in the question just a little bit. I see a few at my office. I see majority like his office, and then when I'm at the shows, I meet them there.
So there's a bunch of veterinarians at these horse shows meeting you directly to have care on their patients?
No, that's where the indirect is. There's some vets on staff, but it's not everyone. These people come in from all over the
Right.
place.
Right, yeah, I'm familiar with the horse shows, so
Okay.
there are some vets there, but I don't feel like there's a lot of vets there, so. But when you're seeing patients at, say, Dr. Royer's office or in your own office, you're keeping records of those patients,
Yes.
presumably about what you adjusted and what was wrong.
Yes, so normally those are returning clients.
So the concept that a horse show is just gonna be a one-off, I'm never gonna see this patient again, so, well, what did you do? I mean, it's impossible to keep all of that in your head, right? The information about what's wrong with this patient.
I do a fairly good job actually of remembering what I adjusted on the horses that I treat up there. And normally I will text the person what I found on them so that they can remember it and give it back to their vet.
A direct contact or direct referral, like a referral sheet that says, hey, you need to see a chiropractic, that's not typically how it works, at least in the horse show.
In the horse show world, no, it's verbal. They come to me because they have got they are searching for me because their vet has told them to find a chiropractor and they know that's where they can find me.
But you've not talked to the vet nor had any records that indicate that.
Not normally one-on-one, no.
Quickly adding to that, are you aware that a client coming to you and saying, my veterinarian says I need to get a chiropractic adjustment is not indirect supervision? You aware of that?
Correct.
But it sounds like that happens a lot. So that is you practicing veterinary medicine on an animal, doing chiropractics, which is a veterinary function. There are veterinarians that do chiropractics.
Correct.
And so that's a very different thing than having a veterinary client-patient relationship. The client saying, a doctor said I need to see a veterinarian, that's not a VCPR, unfortunately.
Okay, I'm just under the assumption that I'm working on an animal that has been cleared to receive chiropractic care.
How do you know that? Because they told you.
I mean, I can't cross-examine every single person that comes in.
Actually,
You should want to protect yourself, I would think.
And duly noted. I mean,
These horse shows, and this is just a general question, but potentially are some of the horses that you would see at a show where there was not a veterinarian who was that horse's veterinarian there, are any of those from out of state ever? Do horses come from out of other states to any of these horse shows potentially?
some of them.
So I'm thinking as far as the veterinary client-patient relationship, in order for a veterinarian to practice veterinary medicine on a patient, they have to be licensed in Indiana. So this, which they could be, but if we don't have documentation of that, then we don't know if there's even a VCPR there. And even if there was, if they're not, if you don't have the paperwork to show that it was ordered to be done, that's an issue, I think.
Right, I see that. When I started this, the laws, the legislation, when I started all this, said that you have to be a vet or a chiropractor, have these hours, and be licensed to the IVCA or the IVCA in order to practice animal chiropractic. That was the standard when I started all my schooling. Through graduation, everything had changed, and that was on me. I didn't see that everything had changed, and so I had assumed that the laws were still the same, and I was practicing within my laws and practicing legally. So
And when you say the laws, are you talking chiropractic laws? Are you talking
The state
veterinary medicine laws? Are you talking?
the state legislation
On what?
for animal chiropractic.
And when did you say you started? How many years ago?
I started in 2015, and then I graduated in fall of 2018, and it was during that process in 2018 that the legislation changed to human only, and I was not aware of that. I know when I started school and was in the process of doing school, it still stated that in order to practice in Indiana, you had to have these hours, be licensed through the IVCA, AVCA in order to practice, which I assumed I was this whole time.
That may have been a chiropractic thing, but the Veterinary Practice Act has not changed.
Yeah, unfortunately, the law we follow is our Practice Act, us as well. I mean, and
Right.
so it speaks to your situation as well, unfortunately. Any other questions for this witness? Redirect.
That would be that. I don't. I don't have any further questions for Dr. Trimble.
Okay,
The state has no further recross.
and we hear from Dr. Royer.
Yes.
Well, are the parties done calling witnesses?
Well, I
Are
was
you
gonna-
gonna call him or no?
yeah, I was gonna call Dr. Royer.
You can call Dr.
Oh,
Royer.
yes.
I mean, he's been patiently waiting, we want to hear from him.
Can you please state your name for the board?
Scott Royer.
You gotta speak up.
Scott Royer,
What is your occupation and training and profession?
I'm a veterinarian.
You gotta speak up.
I'm a
Sorry.
veterinarian. Graduated in 1999 from Purdue.
Okay. What is your role? What do you currently do?
Right now, small animal
Okay.
practice in Worthington, Indiana. That's all I do right now.
With-
I used to have 3 clinics and did farm calls, but now I sold out to corporate and I'm just an employee now.
What is Royer Veterinarian Services?
Small animal, some farm animals that can be trailered in, but mostly dogs and cats.
Your license to practice veterinary medicine here in the state of Indiana?
Yes,
How long have you been practiced or been in practice?
since 1999.
Are you generally aware of why you were subpoenaed and called here today? Okay. How do you know Dr. Trimble?
Well, I was a patient down at Dr. Collison's in Green County Chiropractic and met her that way.
You're gonna have to speak up. I'm sorry. Can you hear Dr. Roy?
Barely.
Okay, I'll try. A little harder.
So how is it you began to work, send patients or clients to Dr. Trimble?
Well, Dr. Collison used to come to our clinic and
Who's Dr. Calls?
Dr. Collison is the local chiropractor in Green County in Worthington, Indiana. And he has animal certificates and practiced a little bit, but he would only do it at the clinic. And so we would set time aside every Tuesday at lunch and he would come down and adjust probably about 10 or 15 animals every week. We saw great results with that. So but then he got too busy and he couldn't come in anymore. And then Dr. Sarah had mentioned one time that when I was down at the chiropractic clinic that she had done animals or does animals and is certified with all these certificates. So we asked if she might be interested in doing that.
When did that relationship begin?
2025 summer.
You mentioned the other chiropractor. Are you aware of other animal chiropractors or is it just the 2?
Just the 2. Now I have several clients that go to chiropractors that I'm not sure if they have certificates or not.
Do you do animal chiropractic? Why not?
Not trained.
With your patients and clients, have you seen firsthand results in working with animal chiropractic, like with Dr. Trimble?
Yes, really good results. And may I say that there is a paper trail with us, with the ones that Dr. Trimble sees at our clinic. There is a paper trail. We use ScribbleVet, which is very nice. Used to be old-fashioned and handwrite, but ScribbleVet picks up, and I went through and looked yesterday, and picks up when we do recommend chiropractic care. And then we get a report from her and the girls scan it in to their farm.
Can we see those?
Yeah.
Can you get those to data?
The state doesn't object because
Well, we asked for these in our subpoena. Do you have any other records that?
So we'll just mark that as Exhibit K.
Just for the record, Brittany, were they asked to be brought to the hearing or submitted ahead of time?
Well, they were due by July 1st to our office, but we will accept them now.
Okay. Can it be noted then for the record that these have not been provided to the state and they were delinquent records also?
So noted.
I would say that some of those patients have been with me for years, and there's more pages of records, but I only went from the, probably a little bit before the relationship started. One was going to be 169 pages, so I cut that back. So if you need more, I can get more.
I think it would also be appropriate to make sure that we're screening those records appropriately, right? I don't know if there's any potential protected information in there.
Are you asking for them to be not marked, not for public access?
Yes.
I don't know what would be considered public unless there's somebody's, or not public unless there's somebody's social security number.
Well, that's, yeah, I don't,
I never see a client's social security number and the animal record. It shouldn't be in there.
that's all I was asking about.
We would have no objection if you wanted to mark it as that.
So looking at the license registration requirements under the law, do you have a relationship with Dr. Trimble where you have direct observation of the work she's doing?
Yes, we can.
Have you had that in the past?
Yes.
Okay. What examples can you give the board?
Well, she adjusted my daughter's dogs, and that's how we kind of started the relationship. I wanted to see how she performed and what she did, and it was good results.
Do you have an occasion to indirectly work with Dr. Trimble? And then are those records reflected in Exhibit K?
I would like to have that, but we have not because of the greatness. I mean, we don't, I would not, greatness of the, how it's written, I would not send somebody there except at my clinic, as of right now,
Okay.
as the indirect, just because we don't know. And I don't want to get her in trouble, and I don't want to be in trouble.
Right. Have you always, in the working relationship with these patients, always confirmed consent with the chiropractic treatment?
Yes. Yeah, I don't think it's written, but from now on it should be.
We also have submitted for the board the affidavit. Can you just identify that for the record? What is Exhibit G?
My affidavit.
We just moved to admit Exhibit G, which is the testimony of Dr. Royer in affidavit form, which is, I think, submitted. We sent it in.
And we would just object based on relevance as he's here to testify, so we believe it's an irrelevant exhibit.
It's technically already part of the record because it was provided with a motion to dismiss that Dr. Sunbury reviewed.
It's already in there, right?
Yeah, but I'll publish it just so everybody has it.
Okay. Are you a firm believer in animal chiropractic?
I've seen some really good results, yes.
Can you give examples to this board?
One is, it was actually my MD's sister, and it was a dachshund, so typical back problems, and very little deep pain. She couldn't afford to have the surgery done, and we had done 6 weeks of chiropractic care once a week, and the dog walked.
I don't have any other questions for Dr. Royer.
Okay, I just uploaded his affidavit if you guys wanted to. Exhibit, the respondents exhibit G.
Any cross?
Yes, one moment. Hello, Dr. Royer. You mentioned that you both provide direct and indirect supervision for Dr. Trimble, is that correct?
I would like to do indirect. correct, but we have not yet,
Okay.
because of the gray area, I don't wanna.
So at this point, you've been present for all
It's at
adjustments
my
that she's
clinic.
provided?
It's at my
Okay.
clinic, yeah.
No, but have you been present to witness all of the adjustments?
I am not in the same room.
And are you aware that that would also constitute indirect supervision if you are not present? And for indirect supervision, are you aware that it must be within the veterinarian's usual practice area? That you're providing supervision, okay. Do you provide yourself animal chiropractic services to your patients?
Do I do it myself? No.
The state has no further questions.
Questions from the board?
Your working with connection, whatever, with Dr. Trimble, started summer of 2025, is that right?
Yeah. So as it's going, we're learning how to do that, because it's only once a month, so it's kind of a learning process here now, so.
So, quick question for you, I'm sorry, we were distracted here for a minute. As far as any equine chiropractic off-site, you have not been consulted in any way in a indirect fashion?
As soon as I got my bills paid for, I stopped equine.
Coursework caused a lot of expenses for you? Is that-
No, my pet bills and stuff, my schooling and stuff. As soon as I got done, I stopped equine calls.
I don't think we have anything else for this witness.
Dana scanning the records.
Any follow-up from either of you?
I don't have any further questions.
I have
Dismiss
great
this
promise.
witness?
Yes.
Well, why don't we just take a break, because you might have questions after. you
Okay,
get
a couple of the board members might want to ask some questions after they see the paperwork once it's
Okay.
copied.
Is there water around here?
So why don't we take
Talk to you for a second.
3, 4, 5 minutes and take a break? Okay, we have finished with good doctor and
Well, are we finished? Do we have questions?
well, I mean, for the moment, but you need to come back now.
Does anybody have any questions for Dr. Wire?
So I think that was under the impression. So,
Oh, then is he okay to go? Because I think he was hanging around in case we had any questions about the records.
Yeah, no, yeah.
do you have any reason for him to stay from
No,
your
I was-
perspective?
I was gonna tell Doctor that he could leave if the board doesn't have any
It's
questions.
good with us.
Thank you. Thank you.
Very much. Any additional witnesses?
No.
Okay. Are we calling anybody back for any additional cross or anything?
No additional rebuttal or other witnesses.
Okay.
They can, if they have. Yeah.
Closing statements.
Yes. This profession and the legislature have defined what the practice of veterinary medicine includes. If you look at Indiana Code 2538.1112, it provides multiple different provisions of what is the practice. One of them, provision 4, states provide under A, states providing the diagnosis, treatment, correction, or prevention of any disease, defect, injury, deformity, pain, or condition of animals. And 5, although the beginning doesn't apply, a further provision later does, it says prescribing, dispensing, or ordering administration of a drug, a medicine, or biologic, medical appliance, and application or treatment, whatever nature, for the prevention, cure, or relief of any disease, ailment, defect, injury, deformity, pain, or other condition of animals. So it involves both either mandating what is going to be done for the animal or providing that care to the animal. In this case, at the very least, Dr. Trimble has provided that care to animals that meets the definition under provision 4. Ultimately, that is all that must be proven today, is that she practiced in that realm and that she did services that would meet the definition of veterinary medicine. The burden then shifts to Dr. Trimble to demonstrate any applicable defenses. That is where the exemption conversation came up. The exemption that has been referred to throughout this hearing comes up under Indiana Code 2538.131, provision 11. First, I would like to note that the Indiana Board of Chiropractic Examiners considered the same exemption and determined by a vote that it did not apply and that she went beyond the scope of her chiropractic license. But today, you must decide whether it applies to her practice and whether it prevents her from unlicensed practice. Ultimately, she does not meet the requirements of it. The state has presented evidence from 2021 to present of veterinary services performed by Dr. Trimble. All you saw today were Dr. Royer's testimony, 2 pages of letters from clients, and records being submitted at the 11th hour in a hearing from one veterinarian when she said she works with approximate 20 veterinarians across the state. You also heard that she operates with people that are at horse shows, and they might come from out of state. They come from out of state, that would not meet the definition of acts within a veterinary client patient relationship, because it also must be a duly licensed veterinarian for it to meet that exemption for the state of Indiana, not anywhere in the United States. As such, looking at these provisions, she must prove in every instance that she's providing care that she meets every prong of the exemption. It is not a blanket exemption that applies to all of her work. So as such, you saw exhibits. Ms. Walter, in the course of our investigation, asked for all records of veterinary care. When you look at States Exhibit 4 and 5, all they are invoices. There is no establishment of referral. There are no documentation of any type of care beyond the billing of such care, or even an establishment of a relationship or referral with a veterinarian. You also saw that she went out to a lot of multiple different conferences, and at those conferences or events, she provided care. There are no records of incidences when she did that. There's no records of what veterinarian she was working with, whether a referral was took place. In fact, her own testimony today said, "Well, I don't cross-examine everyone that comes before me." That is her duty in order to show that she meets the exemption and that the services that she's performing meet an exemption to practice of veterinary medicine, because squarely what she's doing falls within veterinary medicine. So I asked the board today to order a cease and desist against Dr. Trimble. It is clear that she at some point became aware of what an exemption to licensure was, and one that she may fit squarely with that. But her practice did not meet those requirements. In fact, the only veterinarian you've heard from today, she didn't even have a relationship with until the summer of 2025. So ultimately today, a cease and desist is proper. The cease and desist can be extremely clear from this board that the practice of chiropractic on animals fits within the practice of veterinary medicine, which I think is very important for the board to know. But in addition, it can note that if she wants to go down this route, there is an avenue available for her. She just has to make sure that she's documenting. She has to make sure that she's focusing on what is required by the law, because ultimately the legislature and this board and its partners that fought for that language wants to make sure that patient care for those animals is paramount. And without records and without detailed information, we can't say that she's meeting the exemption or providing that utmost care. So the state would ask for a cease and desist based upon that, and the exemption not applying. Thank you.
Thank you, members of the board. I think you can hear the passion in my voice for my client, Dr. Trimble, a duly licensed chiropractor with countless hours devoted to the science of animal chiropractic. Animal chiropractic is distinct and different from the practice of veterinary medicine. If this board is going to issue a formal cease and desist against Dr. Trimble, I think that's a manifest of injustice. It is not right. And under the definitions that the state has the obligation to prove, diagnosis, treatment, correction, prescribing, dispensing, she doesn't do those things. There's a reason, I think, that the American Veterinarian Medical Association Model Veterinarian Act. So why would they include in their definition in 2019, which was cited in the cease and desist, a specific example of what is included in terms of alternative therapies that I mentioned in my opening? They specifically included chiropractic medicine. Then why did they remove it in 2025? Well, I'll tell you why. Throughout this country, this is what's going on. Tennessee, Kentucky.
It is going to object as to what other states have done. It is only relevant what is the law in this state and what this state considers the practice of veterinary medicine.
I'm just giving and coloring the background as to what is going on here in the grand scheme of things. That's all I'm doing.
The objection is sustained, but go ahead.
The bottom line is that this is not, Dr. Trimble works with veterinarians because they don't do animal chiropractic, and she's specifically trained in it. Now, the state has the obligation, but mentioned, and I heard the board talking about documentation, it doesn't exist. I think that's a good rule of thumb, right? If you have the burden of proof, but we don't have the burden of proof. Just because something isn't documented doesn't mean it didn't happen. It means it's easier to prove, right? But we don't have to prove anything. She testified about the countless shows and interactions, all of which include confirmation from those patients that she is working with licensed veterinarians in the state of Indiana. You heard from Dr. Royer. What I'm asking this board to do is hit pause on this for a brief period and hold off on a cease and desist and just issue an order that defers to the chiropractic board to do what it needs to do to clarify the language if anything needs to be done here. And I think that's what needs to be done. Anything else is patently unfair to Dr. Trimble, who has spent countless hours training, money, costs, expenses, and helping animals, which she is devoted to. This isn't due process ultimately if that's what happens. The state has not met its burden that she is practicing veterinary medicine. You heard the testimony. Anytime she's got any other issues outside of the scope of animal chiropractic, she refers directly back to the veterinarian to do that work.
I mean, if there are things installed, I'm sorry. This is all just new information for me, and so there's,
I mean, we're dealing with someone's career and livelihood here. I think the board understands that. And I think it warrants a pause on any formal cease and desist. And we are working with the chiropractic board to provide clarification with the legislator. And if the state is going to charge her with a definition that's outdated, that's patently unfair. Why did they remove that specificity? If that specificity was there, then we perhaps would have better notice to animal chiropractors out there that are doing this, but it was removed. That's the relief I'm asking for from this board, to give us the opportunity to go back to the chiropractic board and work with them on clarifying its language with the legislature. Thank you.
Thank you.
We may provide a short rebuttal to clarify certain issues, as we were the party that filed the initial suit. I'll keep it brief, less than a minute, because I know we've been here a while. The state charged the definition of the practice of medicine under your code that the legislature made. That, as you have already said in questioning, has been enacted for quite a while, and the Practice Act has been enacted for quite a while. Especially for someone that holds a license in front of other boards, it's that person's obligation, as you will know as veterinarians and vet techs, to make sure that you know what the laws say about your profession, what you can and can't do. That is her obligation, and she failed that obligation and failed to meet her burden in that.
42 seconds.
Thank you.
These proceedings, according to notice, are hereby concluded. This cause is therefore adjourned until further notice. Thank you very much. Okay. Let's deliberate. Initial comments? Anybody?
I think that there's no question that she does is good work and beneficial for the animals. It's the fact that it's not done.
Hold on, just a second, sorry to interrupt. Lindy, can we keep recording the deliberation, please? I know that's unusual, but
Might have to speak up a little bit for him.
Oh, I was just saying that, okay, right. Yep, okay. I was just saying, there's no question that what she does is good work and beneficial to the animals. However, she is not following the Practice Act and is in direct violation of the Veterinary Practice Act. Had she been doing all her chiropractic work in a veterinary clinic, or at least with indirect or direct supervision of the veterinarian, none of us would, right? That's my, kind of my take on the situation.
Feel the same way? Yeah, I feel the exact same way. Do not doubt that she is doing good work. She's just not doing it in the proper, following the proper rules currently.
And we are not driven by what the AVMA has written down as their guidelines. Those are bumpers on both sides of the road to keep us out of the ditch. But our Practice Act, as indicated, is where it is. And regardless, chiropractics is part of veterinary medicine when it involves being done on an animal. Now, that doesn't mean remotely that you can't perform chiropractic procedures on animals. As indicated here, it's just a matter of making sure that in each of those cases, you have indirect or direct supervision, and that then, and I do a lot of horse work, and I work with a couple of chiropractors, but they send me an email letting me know that one of my clients has contacted them and has asked for that we had talked and that they need some chiropractics. And I then reach back and say, yes, and here's what we're seeing, do what you need to do. And then I always get a report that has what was done. And I'm okay with that because they're a wonderful addition to my practice, as you are to the animals that you're doing this for. But it's following the proper exemptions. Very seldom am I actually there at the same time that they are there. But that's okay in this situation. Or they'll get on the phone and say, hey, found something a little different than maybe what you were thinking. What do you think? And then we'll communicate on it. So no one on the board, I think I can speak for everyone, is anti-chiropractor or against chiropractic in animals. And frankly, none of us have the proper training to do that. And we're very thankful for you. But you gotta stay in your lane and you gotta follow the rules and do things the way they need to be done. So a cease and desist today doesn't affect your making a living. It basically just says, you gotta stop doing it the way you did it and do it the right way.
100%.
Okay. Anybody else?
I think I would also reiterate the ignorance of the rules and laws and the species that you are treating is not an excuse. And we, as veterinarians who have multiple species that cross multiple requirements and whatnot, maybe are better versed at that, and knowing that was in our education. But when you cross the border between human to animal, there's going to be a whole different set of rules. And this isn't going to be the last time that something might be changed. In the next 10 to 20 years, you're going to have to keep up with what the laws and rules are in the state that you're practicing.
The only other thing I'll add, and that was just reminded to me, is that the area that's a little bit challenging for you is going to be if you're at a show and somebody that doesn't have veterinary care locally or something along those lines, and that you've not talked with their veterinarian, you're not going to be able to take care of that horse or dog or cat. They'll need to, if they're in the state, they'll need to get their veterinarian on the horn, they'll have to hand you the phone, you'll have to talk to them, you'll have to get indirect supervision, or you will be outside the lines on that.
And then document that and save those records.
And the veterinarian must be licensed in Indiana. So like, that's what I was bringing up earlier about, do some of these come from other states? That's a key point as well. So.
Other comments? Not all. Entertain a motion.
Can I say something briefly? And this is to the benefit of the state, I think, too. This isn't a closing argument or anything. It sounds like the board is going to issue a cease and desist. You're going to vote on it. But if that happens, all I'm asking for in that cease and desist, right, is some clarity as to what the vet board is thinking is required, right? If you can, right? So that there's some guidance.
It's in the statute.
Well, it's not. In my opinion, the statute leaves open wide interpretation, and
I'd say this is going a little bit into argument.
I'm just saying, what this board considers indirect and direct supervision would be helpful for all animal care.
That is also defined by statute.
It's not.
It is.
Indirect supervision is defined under our Practice Act, but I think it's very clear in the statute for the exception of the practice of veterinary medicine of what is required. And the direct or indirect supervision isn't even really the issue here. It's the lack of a referral appropriately referred by a veterinarian, the lack of a VCPR, and the lack of any follow-up care and continuity of care with the veterinarian that referred. That's what I mean, like there's no medical records for it to keep a continuity of care on either side.
Appreciate your input. Back to motion.
To file cease and desist.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the floor. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Thank you for being here. We want you to continue to practice and do what you're doing. Your reviews are glowing, and the work you do obviously is very good. Just have to follow the rules. Thank you.
Comments to follow the rules if I can't. Okay. Okay. All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.